Joining me this week on this edition of Ear to Ear, I know many of you probably seen Pink, whether you're out going to a sporting event or just out and about in the town of St. Louis or anywhere actually. It's because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month this month in October, and with no better guest to talk to now than Janet Vigen Levy from the Susan G. Komen Center in St. Louis. How are you doing today, Janet?
I'm good. It's a lovely day.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the Cardinals and baseball, and especially in St. Louis.
That's
Since
right.
baseball,
Exactly. We love all the red. We love Cardinals spirit.
Definitely. Now, just before we get into talking more about Susan G. Komen and other issues of breast cancer awareness, I guess just to ask you a little bit about yourself. How did you get to Susan G. Komen? I guess how did your career path lead you this way?
Sure. I actually started my involvement with Susan G. Komen as a volunteer. I belong to Zeta Tau Alpha fraternity for women, and so when I was in college, I joined Zeta Tau Alpha, and Zeta Tau Alpha's philanthropy is breast cancer education and awareness. So through that, I actually got connected with Susan G. Komen, and actually the first Komen St. Louis Race for the Cure in 1999, I became a volunteer, and I really got connected with the race and then other educational and awareness events throughout the year working with Komen St. Louis. And so I've been working for quite a while and as a volunteer, and then about just over a year ago, I had the opportunity to join the staff. And so I'm happy to be part of this small but mighty staff at Komen St. Louis.
Definitely. And now, like I said, most people know when they see Susan G. Komen, most people equate it with, the race for the Cure in July.
Right.
And, things of that nature, and also breast cancer awareness. But just give us a little bit more of the background on Susan G. Komen, I guess, where the name came from, and I guess just the kind of the mission of the organization as well.
Sure. Actually, so Susan G. Komen was a woman actually from not too far away. She was born and raised in Peoria, Illinois, and raised a family there, and actually kind of went to school in Missouri, and so has good close connection to the St. Louis area. And she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and in 1980, she had her sister, whose name is Nancy Brinker. So Susie Komen asked her sister, Nancy, to promise her to do everything she can do to end breast cancer forever. So Susie Komen lost her fight with breast cancer in 1980, and then in 1982, the promise that her sister Nancy Brinker had made to Susie became Susan G. Komen for the Cure, and that launched the global breast cancer movement. And so Susan G. Komen for the Cure's mission and promise is to save lives and end breast cancer forever.
That's definitely a very interesting story, man, because I think a lot of people know, of course, a lot of people know that Susan G. Komen promotes breast cancer awareness, but a lot of people really don't know the story behind it, so it's definitely a good thing to share and give, listeners an idea of how it started, where it came from, and, where the mission is going.
Right, and she was a real person,
yes.
A real person who had a tough fight with breast cancer, and, 30 years ago, it was a time where we didn't know a lot about breast cancer, and we couldn't even really talk about it. We couldn't even really say the words breast cancer out loud. So just that promise that the two sisters made has really had a huge impact on the world.
And I guess I know with Susan G. Komen, like I said, there's a lot of national events and other things like that that go on throughout the whole year. But this month in particular, you see it everywhere. I'm a big football fan, so I see all the players with pink in their uniforms or pink in their gloves. I guess just why does breast cancer awareness, I guess with this month, what does it equate? Is it just kind of one of those things the month is just picked ahead of time? Is it kind of something significant with this month of October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month?
It was really just selected, just designated as, the month that, I think it was about 28 years ago that it actually started.
Mm-hmm.
And just really, the people that started really felt the need to really designate a time of the year to really focus and get the word out and get awareness surrounding breast cancer and really the importance of people, women especially, paying attention to their health and what can be done to prevent breast cancer.
And I guess I know with breast cancer awareness, I guess what are some of the things you really hope during this month? Because I know it's such a short, condensed time for such a big issue that people, just one awareness month for. But I guess what are some things you just hope to hammer out during this month? I guess if it's about prevention or, keeping yourself, getting yourself checked out and making sure you're healthy, or what are some of the key things that you want to hammer out during Breast Cancer Awareness Month?
Yes, well, really, what we think is really important, the awareness is important. But really, we really like to focus on turning that awareness into action and really having everyone make breast health a priority in their lives. We all always get so busy with work and family and school, and sometimes we tend to kind of put ourselves last and not take care of ourselves. So really, we encourage everyone to make health and their breast health a priority. And one way to do that is by getting screened, make a mammogram appointment, and urge other women in your life to do the same.
And I guess just with that, and just saying that, a lot of people don't realize, a lot of people do realize just how much impact, I guess, breast cancer can have on not only the individual, but the family members as well.
Oh, definitely.
So I guess you guys should make an effort just to kind of include them too, well, with the family members. But I know you guys do a lot to include survivors and patients ongoing with, treatment of breast cancer. But also, do you guys do a lot with the family members as well, trying to keep them aware of like how to actually, I guess, deal and cope with or better help out their family member going through the process?
Yes, I think that's so important to know that, when, a woman or a man gets breast cancer, it doesn't affect just that person. It affects that person's family and friends and coworkers. We call those people co-survivors. So people that really are helping the breast cancer, the woman or man with breast cancer through the breast cancer journey. And just kind of going along the lines of breast self-awareness, which is really important in October and all year round.
Yes.
But I'd like to just kind of talk about the 4 key steps that Susan G. Komen recommends for breast self-awareness.
Yes. And
so the first step is actually knowing your risk. And that's just talking to your family to know your family health history about breast cancer, but also other illnesses and diseases, just so you kind of have that awareness of what what your family has dealt with and what may or may not affect your own health. And then also talk to your healthcare provider about your own risk of breast cancer. Susan G. Komen recommends that having a mammogram every year starting at age 40 if you're at average risk, and then having a clinical breast exam at least every 3 years starting at age 20, and then every year starting at age 40. So that's step 2 is after you know your risk, then you want to get screened. That's step 2. And then step 3 is really knowing what is normal for you. So really knowing your body and paying attention to any changes, and then taking action if you do notice any changes. And then the 4th step in breast self-awareness is making healthy lifestyle choices. And so that kind of, it's with breast cancer, but also with just being healthy in general.
Yes.
And so some of those would be maintaining a healthy weight, adding exercise to your routine, limiting alcohol, and then breastfeeding actually is a good choice to help minimize the risk for breast cancer.
And I guess I know we talk about awareness and, trying to take care of the risk beforehand, but I know you've talked to a lot of people or been around a lot of people who have actually been diagnosed. I guess what is just a general feeling of someone when they actually first get diagnosed from just what you've seen with working with Susan G. Komen?
Right. I think, it's a scary thing. Just the word breast cancer can be very scary. And, we at Komen St. Louis, we every day are, talking with those who have heard those words and have that diagnosis. And, it is scary, but the good thing is that there are so many resources here to help those who are diagnosed with breast cancer. There are many resources. We're so fortunate in the St. Louis area, so we have such great healthcare facilities. And then also a generous community, which has provided great funding to Komen St. Louis to help fund some great breast cancer and breast health services in our community. So I think the initial reaction is is that it's scary, but there is also so much hope.
Yes. And I guess just after, someone is diagnosed, I guess what are some of the first steps they should do, I guess, after, the initial diagnosis?
Right. I think just really take a moment to just, I guess, let it sink in, and then also really ask questions and talk to your healthcare provider, and to make sure that you understand, what that diagnosis means, and really do some research. Think about different, what are the different options for you? What is your your doctor or healthcare provider recommending for you? And, Komen St. Louis is happy to talk to anybody who's in that situation and help give some guidance as some great resources in our community.
And another question, I know we mentioned it briefly earlier. With the color being pink, and most time for symbolizing breast cancer awareness with the pink ribbons, and just in general, most of the people you see are women when you see the diagnosis of breast cancer. But men actually can go through this as well, which I think some people may forget. I guess just how often is it that a man might be diagnosed with breast cancer, and I guess what are some of the factors they have to consider when that happens for them?
Right, and I think, that's something that, men don't always think about. They think, well, that's a women's disease, and, primarily it is women that get it, but there are men that do get it. And so it kind of, again, goes back to paying attention to your body and taking care of yourself, and really taking the time to know what is normal for you and your body. And if you notice anything that doesn't seem right, take action and really get it checked out. The statistics for 2012 for breast cancer is that this year about 226,000 women and about 2,190 men will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer. And so there is that factor that there definitely are men that get breast cancer, and we want to keep that awareness out there too.
Now, I know with women with doing the kind of the self-mammogram, then you go with the actual mammogram and other things that you can do as well to, get checked out. I guess, is there any different things for men? Because, most time men don't really probably do that much, with the self-mammogram or go get an actual mammogram appointment. I guess there are other symptoms or signs or things men can do to, feel more comfortable in getting that checked out.
Oh, sure, and I think, it's definitely something that, because it is typically and mostly a disease that affects women, that that doesn't mean that men should just ignore anything that they see.
Yeah.
If they see something, if they feel something, in their own body that just doesn't seem right, yes, certainly men are not accustomed to getting mammograms. That's something that we kind of drill into women that do that every year after starting at age 40. But men, I think that's really just to pay attention to your body, and if anything doesn't feel right, to go and talk to your healthcare provider and really just be an advocate for your own health as well.
You segue well into the next thing I was going to ask you, because the next thing I saw on my list was, I see one of the things when I was looking at a website about being a research advocate, and I just want to touch on you about that a little bit. I guess just what is research advocacy, with the Susan G. Komen for the Care?
Sure. Well, for Susan G. Komen, research is a huge, it's a very important part of what we do. With Susan G. Komen, I'll just give you a little background and information about how our funding works. So the funds that we raise through different events throughout the year, so 75% of those net dollars that we raise stay right here in the community. So for community health programs, so that's for different organizations that are providing life-saving breast health and breast cancer treatment, screening, education, and support programs. And then 25% of the net funds actually go to research. And so that is, it's very important to us that we're kind of, we're really focused on the research, which is really important, but also helping the women and men and families in need right now with this community program. Okay. So with the research, we do have something called a research advocacy committee at Komen St. Louis. And what research advocates are is really bringing the patient's perspective and voice to every level of breast cancer research. So it's really in the many, many research programs that are happening in St. Louis and throughout the world related to breast cancer. The research advocates really make sure that the patient is not forgotten and to kind of keep the patient's voice and perspective involved the whole way through.
I guess what are some of the, the qualities, I know you have research advocates, and I know there's a need for that. What are some of the qualities you look for in the research advocates?
It's really, sometimes it's people who are breast cancer survivors or just have a special interest in research itself and really finding a cure for breast cancer or finding better treatments. And so that's one way that they can get involved. And we are fortunate with our research advocacy volunteers and members in the St. Louis area. They're able to work really closely with some amazing research that's happening right here. A lot of it is funded through Komen money. It's just really incredible. In the past, Komen St. Louis was founded in 1999, and since then, there's been about $20 million that came back to St. Louis focused just for research. So we've got great research facilities here, and then we have a lot of people supporting that work.
Wow, that's definitely a lot of money in it. People think from 1999, but that's really a short amount of time.
It is, and what we think is really exciting is that since we started in 1999, the 25% of our funds, which goes to research, that's totaled about $8 million. But then we've had $20 million come back in research. So really, we are happy to say in St. Louis that more than 100% of what has been donated to Komen St. Louis, more than 100% has come back and is at work in St. Louis every day.
Wow, sounds like, because I'm looking at that and I'm just thinking about that stat. But there's so many people that are still, affected by that. And just, how do you make sure, what are some things that you make sure that it goes into, how do you make it goes into the right places? Just for research and to families, and how do you, is it hard to kind of divide that up and make sure you're getting into the right areas?
It is, and with the 75% of the money, which stays directly in St. Louis, and that goes to our grantees or our community partners. For example, this year, Komen St. Louis granted nearly $3.1 million to fund 25 local breast health and breast cancer programs. So we have these great 25 programs locally that are helping with breast cancer screening and treatment, education and support. And that's things like allowing women to have free mammograms, nutritional support, emergency financial assistance, medical supplies, navigating people through the healthcare system. So all these things, from screening to diagnosis to treatment and survivorship, are really able to provide thanks to the generous people who are donating to Komen St. Louis and participating in our events. And we have a very vigorous grant review process that we're making sure that we know what our priorities are in our community related to breast health and breast cancer, and making sure that the money is going to the right places that will make a clear impact for the most people. And it's truly, we focus on the people who need it the most, people who have low income, no insurance, or underinsured, or other barriers that otherwise would prevent them from getting access to these services.
Now, another thing I want to channel on, because going into those funds are raised through some of the great events you do throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And I know the event most common is the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure. And that's, if anyone's ever taken part in that, that's a huge event. You know how many people come out that day. And just, what was the process? I know you've been there for a while. What was the process just growing that race and just being such a, I won't say it's a mega event, because it's, when you get down there, it's thousands upon thousands of people down there every year.
It really is an amazing event. And, again, I think it goes back to just this community has embraced it. And I think they've embraced the cause. They know how important it is. In 1999, which was the year of the first Komen St. Louis race, we had such strong support that we still have the record for the largest inaugural race. And that community support has just stayed with us. And so every year we've been able to keep a strong presence. And it's, the race itself, that the race day is just, it's an inspirational, emotional, special day. And we're so fortunate we have tens of thousands of people that are participating, that are fundraising, because they know that the mission is to save lives and end breast cancer forever. And we're very excited about this coming year. In 2013, we'll be our 15th race.
Yeah, when you say they're coming here, because they're from all over the world. I think one year, the year I actually did it, there's a guy from, I think he was like a normal race runner. He's from Kenya.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure he won, because I remember he was like the hoopla, and they did a lot of interviews with him afterwards. But it's just like there's people that come from all over to participate. Just for, I think the cause kind of helps speak for itself and sells itself, and why it should come out as well.
Right, and it's great because we have, at the actual race we have a competitive 5K, so people that are, that's really for people who are really committed runners and who really like the competition.
Yeah.
We also have, non-competitive and non-timed 5K, and also a 1 mile. We call it a 1 mile fun walk, and so it's a great way for really anybody to be involved, whether you're, an avid runner or you just want to have fun and not be concerned about your timing, your time to run.
Definitely.
But that's why it's such a great opportunity for really anyone to be involved with the cause, and to really have a special day, and then knowing that one day makes possible the work that Komen St. Louis does the rest of the year, because the funds raised, especially at the race this year, it really is what keeps us. What makes it possible for us to provide funding to these 25 community partners that are working every day with the women in need.
Definitely. Now, I know that's not the only event you guys do every year, so I guess what are some of the other key events that you guys do to help with fundraising? I know you have one coming up, too.
We do. Actually, for October, which is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, one of our key events in October is it's called Spare Nothing for the Cure. So it's a bowling event, and it's, again, another family-friendly event. So this year it's on Sunday, October 28th, and there are 2 locations. It's at Brunswick Zone in Chesterfield, Missouri, and then also Flamingo Bowl in downtown St. Louis. And so at each of those 2 bowling alleys, participants can choose from 2 sessions, so either 12 to 2 p.m. or 3 to 5 p.m. And it's really a fun day, and it's really, $25 per person, and you get 2 hours of bowling, shoe rental, a T-shirt, cupcakes. Really just a fun way to spend a couple hours with your friends and family, raising money for a good cause.
And I guess there's details in heaven. If someone's interested in coming, they have to register in advance, or can they just come out that night?
We do encourage registration in advance, just so we can kind of know who to expect. But we also accept walk-ins and at the event too. And we have information on our website, which is KomenSTLouis.org, or you can call us at 314-569-3900, and we'll be happy to.
Now, Jan, I know I've asked you a lot, but I guess about a lot of the events and different things of that nature. But I guess just what are some things that, I guess first I'll ask you something regarding a different event. I guess what are some of the events or maybe the things that you have going on that are kind of under the radar that people should look forward to? I know I've seen some things about pink tie guys and different things of that nature. I guess what are some things that you kind of want to put out there that people may not be aware of that Susan G. Komen does event-wise or just in the community-wise on a yearly basis?
Sure. I think our key events would be the Spare Nothing for the Cure bowling event in October. We also have, and obviously our race is our biggest signature fundraising event. That's what everyone knows it's about, and we do want everyone to mark their calendars for June 15th of next year for our 15th race on the 15th of June. Leading up to the race, we actually have 2 other events that are it's kind of our trifecta. So we have 3 events in a row. So the night before our Race for the Cure, we have an event called Caliente for the Cure, which is a Zumba fitness fundraising event. So it's a fun way to try Zumba and to really dance.
Now, how are your Zumba skills? Because I know mine are very.
I have actually. They're not too bad.
Yes, I know I'm not very. I tried it once, and the thing is, I run and do a lot of weightlifting, but Zumba is a whole different animal.
Yeah, I think the great thing about Zumba is that you can kind of do your own thing. I mean, the music is fun; it's a fun environment, but you just kind of do what works for you and at your own speed and your own pace. And sometimes, you make up your own moves. It's all in fun, and it's all good for you because you're moving.
Definitely. And I guess what are other ways that people may not be able to make it to some of the events, but what are other ways people can get involved, whether it's donating, volunteering, or just helping out with Susan G. Komen in the St. Louis area?
Right. We're always happy to have new volunteers. We have, just things throughout the year. We have we're at different health fairs. We're, different opportunities for us to share our information and talk about Komen St. Louis and really let people know about the resources that Komen St. Louis can provide and what we have in our community to help with breast health, with breast cancer programs and information. So we're happy, always happy to talk to people who want to volunteer. We also have just different individuals and small organizations that will maybe host an event that benefits Komen St. Louis. So really there are many opportunities for people to get involved, and it really we truly, when we say every dollar makes a difference, we truly mean it. We recently had we got a donation of $13.30 from two 11-year-old girls who hosted a lemonade stand because they wanted to help. So we are happy to take that $13.30, and we know that it will make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. It's good, someone that age understands.
Right. So any age, there's so many opportunities. Just people can be very creative and come up with something that, and what they're passionate about. Like these two little girls, they got this lemonade stand together and sent us really a nice little thank you, note with their donation and to let us know what they did.
Wow, so people from all ages, backgrounds,
yes,
are affected, and they get the grasp of how serious this cause is. To prevent or help with finding a cure for breast cancer. It's something that's good to see, and that people understand at that early of an age. I can definitely, I imagine you see a lot of other touching, rewarding moments just during your line of work with the foundation, just from survivors and things of that nature as well.
Yes, and it's really just there are sad stories and happy stories, and I think kind of to be an emotional week or day sometimes when we get calls about people who are fighting the disease or people who have lost their fight, and sometimes people so many people are touched by breast cancer, and it's something that affects so many people. On the positive side, there's such progress that's being made with treatment and with research that's going to lead to cures for breast cancer.
Yeah, and I guess what is one thing you would just like to tell people who are maybe interested, or not necessarily, let's not go that route yet, just people who are maybe, who know someone dealing with breast cancer, or maybe dealing with it themselves. I guess this was a message that maybe you like to send just from as representative of the Susan G. Komen Center in St. Louis.
I think the key message is that you're not alone and that there is hope. I know it's a scary thing to be diagnosed with breast cancer, and what Komen St. Louis can do is we can provide support, and we can provide resources and give direction about here's who to contact. One thing, even the idea of a mammogram, for some people that is something that they might think they can't do because they don't have insurance or they can't afford it. But thanks to all the funding all the donations that we've had and the funding we've provided to our community partners, there's really no reason for a woman in the St. Louis area to go without a mammogram because she can't afford it, because we can direct her to resources where she can get a mammogram.
Definitely, and if someone's looking for resources on anything like that, or like I said, just getting involved, I guess what's the best way to contact you guys and get information on that?
Our website is KomenSTLouis.org, and our phone number is 314-569-3900. And either way, we're happy to connect with you and to answer your questions and help get you in the right direction.
Definitely, Jane. I definitely thank you for your time today, and definitely the thanks for the work you do and others do at Susan G. Komen. And like I said, hopefully people will get out there next week for that bowling event.
Yes, we'd love to see you there. It's really a fun event, and we're really excited about it. And we really appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.